Shemai, Croeso, hello and welcome to episode 48 of the Bluebirds Nest. Delighted to be able to welcome one of the real success stories of the Cymru Leagues in the recent years. A man who's certainly been in the news recently is Newport County's Will Evans. Will, welcome to the Nest.
Thank you very much for having me.
Really appreciate you agreeing to come on. I know, like I said, it's been quite a busy time for you recently. Before we get into it all, I just want to say, as a Welsh football fan, a Cymru Leagues fan, and a Man City fan, I can't stress how happy I was when he scored against Man United just 11 days ago. So we'll come on to more recent times shortly. But I want to start, as we always do with these episodes when speaking to current or former players, is at the start of your footballing journey. Done a bit of research. So you came through the Shrewsbury Town youth system, whilst also turning out for your local Llangedwin. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Your local village team. Yeah. Before, I suppose, it all changed for you, starting uni in 2016, obviously at Cardiff Met, where your good friend and our new COO, Becky Nuttall, who we had on last week, we chatted through some of those success stories. She's obviously roped you in. So a big thank you to Becky for sort of setting this up for this episode. We've also spoken to Dylan, your former teammate as well in the past, obviously our skipper. One story I really want to tap into, it all started with a bit of a hangover at the Met, did it?
Yeah, a bit of a funny one, really. We had, I think we had like a mandatory freshers fair that you had to go to on the Monday. Yeah. And we first got to digs on the Sunday. So as you do, as like a group to get to know each other, we went out on the Sunday night. And we went to this freshers fair and I signed up for the football team. Well, I thought I just want to get involved, not really bothered about the standard, you know. I thought I was going to carry on playing for my local team back home, to travel home on the weekends. So I thought if I can play some university football in the week just to keep my fitness ticking over, I thought it'd be ideal for me. And they actually charging £3 for a trial. And I didn't actually have any cash on me. So one of the lads I was living with lent me £3. I'd only known him less than 24 hours. So he actually, I've got to give him a little shout out, Josh Pope. He actually set me on my way. And we had trials that evening. It came out on a Facebook group. And yeah, just probably the best thing that ever happened to me, because I just played that with real freedom, wasn't really bothered about impressing anyone. I was just going there for the social more than anything. And yeah, about half an hour into my trial, Christian Edwards, who was our manager at the time, he popped over and he said, where are you from? Asked a bit about my background. And he said, listen, keep your boots on, come and train with the first team later on. I thought, oh God. So I think I told him, because I was catered in uni. I was like, my dinner like finishes at 7, training started at 7. So he was a bit like, right, okay. So I don't think I actually trained. I met him, and then I met him for a coffee the next day and just went through a few things. And he said, listen, I'd love for you to be part of the team. And God, I spent 5 years then in and around. Well, the first year was with the youth team a little bit, but training with the first team. And yeah, for 5 years then went on to some great things.
Yeah, definitely. You know, you did have, well, you've still probably got lots of memories as an archer. What achievement stands out for you then? Europe, I'm assuming, is the headline, is it?
Yeah, Europe would be hard to look past, just because in the first year I was there, we were actually in Div 1, if you like, at the time. Got promoted in my first year. Didn't really have a lot to do with the first team. Then I kind of came into it towards the back end. Then that second, we wanted to stay in the league and ended up getting top 6. And then the next 2 years, we got to the playoff final, lost against Bangor, lost against Druids, and then finally in my 4th year, we beat Bala in a penalty shootout. So that Europe trip was really special, because the bond we made with those lads, the group that we have, still stay in touch with a lot of them now. We had a special group, and that was the pinnacle really for us.
Yeah, and we've spoken about it with Dylan at length in particular. Heartbreaking to go out on away goals in the end too.
Yeah, it was. To be fair, when we went out to Luxembourg, it was all a bit of a surreal experience for everyone. I know Dill had played, a good standard before, but most of us had played, just university football. That's probably when most people made their name and got their experience. So that second game, the return leg. Sorry, I think we were 2-0 up. Dill scored a penalty actually, and conceded with 5 minutes to go on away goals, and that's the nature of the game.
You left Met not long after that, then headed back home to the now infamous family farm, I suppose, up in just mid Wales, I suppose. Securing a move to Ballatown, I think much closer to you, Maes Tegid there, not too far away, and again made your debut for them in a European 1-0, I think it was.
Yeah, we played in Valletta, and obviously because it was during COVID, it was just a one-leg shootout. And it was Chris Venables scored, as he does. He's done it for years, and that was a really special moment because I played in the Luxembourg game the year before, but then to actually progress through the first round was very special. And then we had the Standard Liège tie away, and that ground, and I thought, this is probably the biggest ground I'm ever going to play in, of a team of that stature as well. So little did I know, a few years later, coming up against United.
Here you are, yeah. And we'll come on to that, like I said, but Mark Jones came calling shortly after, during your time with Bala then for Wales C. You faced England at the Oval, I think it was, at Carnarvon Town's ground. You took the headlines that night. You scored a 4-0 victory. What was that like? It's sort of being selected in the National C squad, but I find it fascinating. You're kicking lumps out of each other in the Cymru Premier, and then all of a sudden you put in the squad together.
Yeah, do you know what? It was one of them. You obviously get to know the lads because you play against them so often, and obviously being down in the South Wales area, we had the likes of Penabont, Haverfordwest, Barry at the time. We had lads that you'd see it in and around Cardiff outside of football games and stuff. So, and to be fair, I was a little bit nervous about first meeting up with them because like you say, you're kicking lumps out of each other when you play against them. But there was a real good team spirit there, and I actually really enjoyed it. We had a 3-day camp, real good bunch of lads, and it's kind of hard for the coaches to. You've got two training days to put on a session and put together a team best suited for the England game, and I doubt it'll ever happen again. That 4-0 at half time, it was just you dream of that, and luckily enough, I was on the end of two of them.
Yeah, awesome. Well, it's coming up now in a couple of weeks at Stair Beneath. It's in the south. I think it's taking a turn. So looking forward to seeing who's selected. Again, we had Jonah on a couple of weeks ago, and I was pushing him for some names to see if any additional Haverfordwest County players were going to get picked up. But we'll have to wait and see with that one. But like I said, you really did well that night and showcased your ability. And I think not long after, James Rowbury, I think I'm right in saying, was the Newport manager. So they came calling then, did they?
Yeah, it was like that was for 2 weeks after that, because you always hear about the scouts and the agents and whatever who are watching that game, but you never really take much notice of it. It's all background noise, you know what I mean? But my phone for the next 48 hours was going crazy, and I had some random calls. I mean, we played Larne in a European game with Bala. Their manager got in touch with me. There was a scout from Portugal who said they'd love for me to go over there. And I was thinking, no, I'm too pale for that. I won't last that. So, just come out the woodwork. And I think I even spoke to Ian Dowie, which was a really, really random one. But it just, obviously there's a lot of eyes on that game. And it's a really good platform for players, both England's seaside and the Wales seaside, to try and make a career. And obviously Newport, when they came calling, I came down and met James Rowbury, and I knew the South Wales area from my time at university, so it just seemed like a good match. Really liked what he was going for and what he was about, and it was a bit of a no-brainer in the end.
Yeah, how did you find the transition then? Because I'm assuming Bala probably trained twice a week, maybe, and a lot of travel across Wales on a Saturday. But that transition into full-time football with Newport.
Yeah, it's a good question. That it's even just the little things like after the game, you all go to the clubhouse and to the pub and you have a pint and you have a bit of a chat, and that certainly doesn't go on. But it's just that intensity that you're working at. You've got to physically and mentally be at it every day. And I think in the 2 years, 18 months I've done it now, I've progressively got better because I'm training every day, and you've got time to work on the things that you need to work on. listen, don't get me wrong. The first 2 months I was coming home and I was having a kip in the afternoon. Much of the despair of my family are all grafting at home, but yeah, I was just mentally drained, and it's almost like a first school day. You're going and meeting a new squad of players that you've got to ultimately earn their respect as well as the managers. The managers brought you in, but the players who are all fighting for contracts and mortgages, they got families, and like that's their sole job. So earning their respect was probably the hardest thing. But I just I was brought in for a reason, and I just tried to express myself as best I could.
Yeah, well, you did certainly in your first year. You had a good season. I think you had about 45 appearances in total.
Yeah,
and in a transitional period, I think that was a good total to have. But you've certainly kicked on this season. I think it's 20 goals you're up to now across league and cups. You're absolutely flying, to be fair. But there is, I'm sure, one goal that's going to stand out so far this season. Fingers crossed, there's even more big goals to come in the league. But as that sunk in yet, you've got a goal against, I know, your boyhood club of following Man United. You've scored live on telly. That immense, mate. How are you feeling about that now, 2 weeks on?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really think it's still sunk in. Like, I was watching, when did I watch United versus West Ham on the weekend. I was thinking, we were playing a week ago, like, scored against it, like crazy. Just can't really. It was all a bit of a blur at the time, and I've watched the goal back a few times and stuff, and people are trying to say it's an own goal, but I just got a neck in. But yeah, no, it hasn't sunk in. It's a surreal moment that it will live with me forever. I'll never forget that moment. And to say that not only have I played against Man United, that I've also scored against the club that I've supported my whole life is, I can't really put it into words. It's crazy.
I can imagine. I suppose on the day and the build up to the game, hard not to get caught up in all the sort of the media coverage and the emotions around it. The scaffolding that people had put up on their house across the road, just little things like that. A much bigger attendance, the live TV element. Did the manager and the club and everybody, was it your usual match day prep for it, or did they do anything different?
Yeah, it was. We're going through analysis of Man United players, and you've got Rashford on the left hand side trying to cut in on his right, and it's trying to say how to stop it. And it's an unbelievable player, so you're not always going to stop it. Yeah. But doing that kind of analysis made you realise, wow, like we are playing against one of the biggest clubs in the world. And don't get me wrong, everyone knew it was at the end of the week. That's what we were working towards. Training was at such a good intensity. Not that it's not anyway, but when you building up to such a prestigious game like that, everyone's on it. And to be fair, didn't really like to say, oh, come on, we've got United on the weekend. It was more head down, get to work and get on with it. But I'd link it back to when we played in Europe. You're playing against big sides there. You're complete underdogs. You've got absolutely nothing to lose. And just go and enjoy the experience. And to be fair, I think being 2-0 down after 15 minutes, you really saw the gulf in the difference. But to bring it back to 2-2 and give them a run for their money for a good half an hour, it was an amazing experience.
Unbelievable. You mentioned Rashford there. He obviously didn't show up on the day.
Good job, really. Could have been a couple more.
Did you manage a shirt swap?
Did I manage? No, I didn't. To be fair, I had to. As I was coming off the pitch, I had to do an interview with TalkSport. So as everyone's going in, obviously they clap their fans, and the interview I was doing, he was trying to get the camera to face him, and he's like, "Just bear with me," and I must have been out there for about 5 minutes. So by the time I got in, everyone had a shirt. So no, unfortunately, I didn't get one, but I got photos to prove.
I was going to say, maybe sometime in the future, no doubt. But obviously the goal is going to live long in the memory. But there was a moment late on in the game for me that really sticks out. And obviously Mr. Lineker's comments came just a few minutes remaining as well. But you were chasing an equaliser. I think there's a couple of minutes to go. You got the ball about 30 yards out.
Yeah.
That's moving towards goal. You got Rafael Varane, multiple Champions League winner coming towards you. Millions watching on telly, and you've rifled one. It's inches away from equalising. I was just thinking, that's unreal. You were doing that at King Coyd and across the Premier less than 2 years ago. Incredible rise you've had there. Obviously, like I said, the goal will stand out, but that moment was like my realization. Fair play, you've done well, extremely well in that. But by that time, you had your ex-Cymru Premier teammates with you as well. Obviously, I think Nathan Wood had come on, James Waite,
he was on,
Harrison Bright, who, not so long ago, I think he was with Barry, Harrison Bright. Just a couple of weeks ago, I think he was, in the squad. I think is it Keban Rai, is it, who was at Brecon not so long ago, so do you think, having done it yourself, there is that pathway for Cymru Leagues players to, put themselves on a platform to get in the Football League then?
Well, like you've said yourself there, you've just reeled off 4 or 5 players, and you look at someone like Sam Bowen, who was on loan at Barry, Priestley Farquharson, who come through at Connors Quay, who coincidentally will come through Newport, which is maybe like a stream that they're looking into. So I definitely, speaking from experience, it's one of the best things that I've done, enabled, because the platform that the Cymru Leagues has on Twitter and on the media and TV, it gets a lot of coverage, and there's some unbelievable players now. I still try and catch up with results and scores. I love following it still, and there's some really good talent in there, and young lads coming through. Like Harrison Bright's come back twice the player he was when he left. Not that he wasn't performing to his level, but consistent football in that man's environment really has helped brought him along. And like you said, myself, Nathan Wood, James Waite, all currently playing Caban, who's come through at Brecon. You make up a quarter of a League Two squad there, and facing Man United with probably 4 or 5 lads who've experienced. So it just shows that there's proof in the pudding, and it's a bit of a low risk, high reward potentially for clubs. Lads are going to jump at the chance to go and play full-time football in a professional standard. So, there's definitely pathways for, and not even young players. Do you know what I mean? I signed at 24. Nathan Wood was 25. It's definitely an opportunity for players. And I think the Wales C, England C is a great step up and a great platform again to express that. But you've got lads who are 18, 19, 20 getting consistent game time in the Cymru Leagues. And I did it when I was 24. So it is a really good platform for footballers coming through.
Yeah, I totally agree with all you've said. It's often a great debate, and it's throughout this season online, on Twitter in particular, there's that debate about, is summer football going to benefit the Cymru League system, and whether the current league structure, with 12 teams and a split and things like that for the development of the product, I guess the word is. For you, having experienced the leagues for such a long time, and now I suppose experiencing full-time football as well, from a slightly more external perspective, is there anything you think this needs to happen to make a change for the better? Whether that's facilities or off-field situations or even player development. What do you think's needed?
Yeah, it's a good question. Obviously you see a lot of debates on social media about what the Welsh leagues can do. And for me, it's, if you think from my time, I was at university at 18 to when I left Bala at 24. In that 6 years, I felt my development definitely grew. I felt the league got a lot bigger. You've got European places that teams are fighting for, playing on the biggest stage, which, even when we played Standard Liège, it was getting coverage all over the world because you're part of the Europa League, like one of the most prestigious competitions in the world. So, and I think, obviously, you've got TNS who seem to run away with it every year, and Connors Quay did try for a couple of years when they went full time, and they've given them a real good go at it. And it'd be nice to have a couple more clubs that are, competing at the top level a little bit more with TNS, but the finances they're putting in perhaps doesn't appeal to all the other clubs. Maybe there isn't so much of a business model that's appropriate for owners to come in and do. And I think, credit to Haverfordwest, the stuff that you guys are doing down there, really grown that club. It's becoming like a really big thing. All the off-field stuff as well, with the little YouTube mini series that they did. I remember watching all of them because it was quite interesting to see. So I think it's progressively growing. I don't have a right answer or a wrong answer of how it can go to that next level, but at the end of the day, you've got Champions League spots, Europa Conference League spots that teams are competing for year in, year out. Yes, it fluctuates between 3 and 4 positions, but that's just the nature of the beast. And it'd be nice to see clubs go through to that first round and try and get to a second round or a third round, and even like a TNS getting into a group stage of some sort. But that's just gonna come with time. And again, you look at players like myself who've gone into the Welsh leagues and then moved on. What is the ultimate aim for the Welsh League? Is it to develop players to put them into the professional game, or is it to increase the viewers or the fans that they get at these games? I don't know what people want out of it, but ultimately, from my experience, everyone's been so happy for me to go on and elevate my career going into professional games. So, listen, from my experience, I think all owners and coaches and staff, secretaries, I think they absolutely love what they do. They have so much passion for the clubs that they work at, and I don't know if they've just got to a nice, comfortable stage. Like, does it come from them to progress it? Does it come from the FAW? It's a really good topic of conversation. I know the 16-team league has been discussed. Again, adding 4 teams, is that going to increase the viewers, or how the league runs? I don't know. I'm not sure, but I can just say from playing in it, it's such a good experience.
Yeah, it's such a can of worms. All the factors you've just mentioned there, you could talk for hours on each individual part, can you? But I'll pick up on the fact you mentioned there's a lot of volunteers and staff who, they live and breathe these clubs. And don't get me wrong, if budgets allowed, they surely want a more full-time permanent position to do it. And until that comes, it's a tricky one, a frustrating one probably. And like you said there, there's Champions League places, there's Europa Conference League places. That for businesses, for investment, has got to be more of a carrot, I think. Like with Haverfordwest, we're lucky that Rob and the board have come together and almost taken us, almost not rags to riches, but we were in Cymru South when Rob took over, got promotion. 3 years later, we've competed in Europe, and long may that continue. I know, but other clubs surely would want the same investment, and it's just about getting the right people
in,
aware of the opportunities. And there's the FAW's new pillars of the league structure and things like that are surely imminent now. I know there was a new appointment. The general manager of the leagues has not long been appointed, so fingers crossed it does move in the right direction soon. But back up to the current day then. We're 24 hours away from our first home game of Phase 2 at the Oggy Bridge Meadow, where we host Pontypridd United tomorrow night. Kick-off 7:45 p.m. And as always, the club are always keen to engage with trending topics in the world of Welsh football. And I can confirm somebody linked with Mr. Lineker's comments from 2 weeks ago will be in attendance. That's all I can say for the matter for now. But please do get down the meadow early for a meet and greet, shall we say, prior to kick-off. I'll let you know about that one, Will, how that one goes. Like I said, though, bringing us up to current times, you got back right on to the winning ways, I guess, with Newport last weekend. Yet another goal against Swindon, 3 points. The club are going really well in the league. Obviously, notoriously beating Wrexham at home a couple of weeks ago as well. I think it's 7 or 8 undefeated. And looking at the league table, only 4 points off the playoffs. Is that, the focus of the club now, head down and try and get a place in the playoffs?
Yeah, it always has been, to be fair. I think you read stuff on social media as predictions come in at the start of the season. I think we were one of the favourites to go down, which, they're estimates for a reason, they're guesses, and you never know how a season can run. And we hit the ground running really quick, and then we rolled into September, October, November. We got a lot of injuries, a lot of things weren't going our way. We weren't getting the rub of the green, and we've always stuck together. We've got such a good group there. The staff have always pushed us, and we're just starting to see it come into fruition a little bit now. And obviously, Doncaster, we scored a last-minute winner to leave 1-0. Wrexham at home 1-0. Then we had the United game. There's been a real good buzz around the place at the moment, not just as a football club, but as a city as well. I had to catch a train the other day, and I was walking through, and fans are absolutely buzzing, just stopping you and just saying, "I'm loving being a Newport County fan at the moment." And it's that's why you do it, just to make the fans happy. And at the end of the day, playoffs, 4 points away, but I think we're still 13th. It shows the competition going in between 13th and 7th position. There's a lot of teams and games coming in thick and fast, coming towards the back end of the season now, the business end, and hopefully we can keep the run going. And I've always said it, turning losses into draws and draws into wins gives you a very good chance.
Awesome. It's so good to you're talking about fans in the city coming up to you, that you've got to that stardom almost in Newport, and you've done so well for yourself. There was a big advocacy for Paul Mullen and obviously Wrexham fans mainly, but a lot of people across Wales were pushing for a call up to recent national squads for him. And I'm sure, I won't put you on the spot, but I'm sure you'd love to be included in one of Rob Page's upcoming squads. I'm sure if he hasn't been to Rodney Parade already, he'll be keeping a close eye on you. So good luck with it all, I suppose. I'm sure it's not just Half West County fans. As you said, people across the Cymru Leagues have been very supportive with you. So on behalf of all of people who follow Cymru Leagues teams, I'm sure we're all right behind you. Keep it up. Keep all the scoring form up. I'm sure we'll all be watching the results come in as we near the playoffs end of the season. But yeah, look forward to those national squads and your name being in there in years to come. Well, really appreciate your time. We'll call it a day there, but yeah, all the best and thank you very much. Walsall this weekend?
Walsall this weekend, yeah, up against Precy Farquharson, who went there last year. So it'd be good to come up against him again. Bit of a Cymru Leagues matchup. So yeah, Walsall this weekend, and then we go Tuesday night against Notts County. So yeah, big games coming up.
Relentless in that league. Fair play. It's no, but awesome. Again, thank you for your time, mate. Really appreciate it, and best of luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you very much, mate.